Jelmer. How are you doing today? Or Jelmer. Jelmer, you there?
Hello, Jelmer. Your
Maybe-
phone might have gone to sleep, and you might still be hearing us, but you might need to wake up and actually touch, since you're using the web utility.
Maybe.
So you might need to touch that browser window.
Jelmer might be stuck in some type of time paradox, though. I mean,
You can put him back in the queue.
This might be, yeah, okay. This might be a call for help. He might be stuck somewhere, and he's asking our advice.
There you are.
Can you
Jelmer, how you doing?
Yes, welcome.
Yes, we hear
I'm
you.
fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Doing all right.
Pretty good. I was making light of the technical difficulties, but now that you're here, we can talk about your subject. So, can you restate your question for us, just so we have a full grasp of what you're wanting to talk about?
Yes. My point is that I have heard Matt regularly say that existence is somehow necessarily bound to time. He regularly asks, what does it mean when you say something exists for zero or absolutely no time? Isn't that the same as non-existence? But I think there's a problem there, because if he says that existence is necessarily bound to time, this implies a scientific claim about the beginning of the universe. And I can easily show how. Hello?
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 Can you not hear us?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
We were waiting because you're
We hear you
saying
this whole
that
time.
it makes some kind of claim
Right.
about the beginning of the universe, and you can demonstrate it. So what claim is being made about the beginning of the universe?
So let's take, so science takes time as Planck time. So let's take the very first Planck moment. Planck moment is a picosecond. And let's take the first Planck moment of the universe and then go back that Planck moment. Was
We
there
can't.
anything in existence before that Planck moment? According
I have
to
no
Matt's
idea.
point?
I have no
You have no
idea.
idea,
As
but-
far as I have no idea.
But when you say that existence is necessarily bound to time, there can only be two options. Either there was nothing in existence because there was no time, or there was something in existence, but then there was also time as we understand it. One moment followed by another moment, followed by another moment.
Yeah. So the difference is that time, when we're describing time, we're doing it within our reference, our space-time reference. Prior to the Planck time, everything we understand about that breaks down. So I don't know how to address anything prior to the first instant of Planck time. But within the framework of space-time, existence is inextricably tied to time. It is space-time, and something that exists for zero time is indistinguishable from something that doesn't exist. If you're talking, we can't hear you. I think you're using the web browser, perhaps on a phone, and your phone keeps going into a sleep mode when you put it up to your ear, and you'll have to tap the
Can you hear me
browser
now?
thing again to wake up. Yes, I hear you now.
Right. So my question is, doesn't that imply that just before the first Planck moment of the universe, there was either nothing in existence or there was time, if there was something existing?
I don't know if there was meta time or not. I don't know what it means for
What do you
something
mean?
to
What do you
exist.
mean by meta time?
A time that isn't part of our local space-time. For example, if our space-time is encapsulated within some broader meta space-time, then there is a time frame under which that things might exist, but I don't know. I don't have any way to explore it. I have no way to assess it.
But that meta
Sorry,
time,
what?
is that the same? That meta time, is that the same kind of time that we understand as one moment followed by another moment followed by another moment?
It may be. We don't know. We don't have any way to explore anything prior to the Planck time.
Okay, so but if it's a different kind of time, then isn't there? Can a believer just say when God is outside of time?
What?
Then
Wait. Why did you raise God? and outside of time,
Well,
that doesn't make any sense.
When someone claims that God is outside of time, you object that existence is necessarily bound to time.
Yes.
But now you're speaking about meta-time. So what stops the belief if I'm saying...
No. Stop talking and listen. I don't know, and neither does anybody else, anything about what may or may not occur or exist outside of our space-time reference. So it may be that our space-time reference is part of some bigger reference, a multiverse reference with its own version of time that I can't describe, can't explore, can't tell you about, but there's no reason to think that that's not a function of that meta universe. We don't know, but there's no reason there's no reason to think that our ignorance about what happens prior to or outside of our space-time reference in any way means that there's a God. And the God definitions make it outside of all time, including the potential possible meta-time.
Well, but the believer can easily say that God is outside our understanding of time. It might be in meta-time or in God time.
Then it's not outside of time, and it's a useless concept. If there's a God that you're pointing to that is part of a meta universe, then it doesn't fit the definition of being outside all space-time.
I'm not speaking about a metaverse. I'm speaking outside of time.
Outside of what time?
Understand it. Outside of the time as we understand it.
What about it? What?
Well,
how can you explore what is outside of our space-time?
I cannot.
Then how can you conclude that there's any possibility of a God outside of our space-time?
I didn't conclude.
You're a theist, aren't you?
I am.
Okay. And you're calling in to suggest that existence isn't not tied to time, when our space-time, our existence is defined in terms of space-time, and it's nonsensical to say that something exists for no time.
I'm not claiming anything.
What are you saying? You're not saying anything. What?
I'm not claiming anything about God.
Then go away. I am only interested if you're going to make claims about God. If you're just going to come in and toss things around, you aren't in any way demonstrating that existence isn't tied to space-time by appealing to a God outside of time or a metaverse outside of our local time.
I didn't say
Jelmer, I'm trying to understand what the main thrust of your call is, because we're talking about pure speculation at this point. The closest we were at reality is when you're talking about a picosecond after the Big Bang, which could potentially be argued to be a point in time and have things in it that exist. But now you're talking about what happens, quote unquote, before that, and what might reside inside of that speculation. So you're speculating about something that exists inside of another speculation. Where does this get any of us? What is the main thrust of your call here?
I'm not speculating about anything. I'm talking about Matt's claim that existence is necessarily bound to time. Matt is speculating about meta-time, a time we don't understand.
No. I'm making a distinction between the space-time that we experience and what we don't know. I'm not saying I have a solution, because as I've said from the fucking beginning, prior to the Planck time, we can't explore anything and don't know anything. Why are you wasting time on this?
I'm just referring to your definition of existence.
No, you're fucking not. Stop saying you're just referring to my definition. I said existence is necessarily contingent on time. Existence is necessarily tied to time, because something that exists for zero time is identical to, or not logically distinguishable from, something which does not exist. I'm not saying anything about a God if somebody says that God exists outside of space-time, the question should be, does it exist outside of our local space-time, or does it exist outside of all time? If they say it exists outside of all time, that is the nonsense that I'm rejecting when I say existence is necessarily temporal, period.
Can something exist in metatime?
I don't know, because I don't have any fucking access to metatime. But if metatime exists, then yes, something can exist in metatime as far as we know. What fucking difference does it make? What difference does it make? Do you believe in a God?
Yes.
Does your God exist outside of space-time?
I don't know.
Go away.
It's so funny. You make a claim about existence necessarily bound to our space-time.
No, sir. I did not make a claim existence was bound to our space-time. I'm saying that in order for something to exist, it must exist for some period of time, either our presentation of local space-time or some other time. I don't know because I can't explore it. But stop fucking talking.
So God can exist.
Stop talking. You've called in to repeatedly misrepresent my argument and my position, which you don't fucking understand. And you've gotten it wrong every time. And you are here to defend nothing. That's not what this fucking show is. Demonstrate that existence can be absent time. Go.
I didn't claim any existence of God. I'm just asking you, can God exist?
I just said that you didn't. Shut the fuck up. I just said that you weren't making a claim about God. Prove that something can exist without time. Go.
Well, I didn't claim that something can exist without
Jesus
time.
Fucking Christ, Jelmer. I just hit the mute button.
Yeah.
I'm going to try this one last time. Do you believe something can exist outside of time?
I don't know.
Then why are you calling in to challenge my claim that something must exist within some time frame?
Well, demonstrate to me that something must exist with some time frame, and then take the first Planck moment.
I did demonstrate this. I've demonstrated it every fucking time, which is in order for something to exist, it must exist for some period of time, because something that exists is said to exist for 0 period of time is logically identical to something that does not exist. Correct?
So now you're making a scientific claim about the beginning of the universe.
Correct?
No.
I'm asking you a fucking question. If something...
I don't know if it's correct. I don't know if it's correct. I'm asking you.
Jelmer.
Yes.
Are you going to answer the question honestly, or am I going to drop you for being dishonest as fuck? Here we go. Try this. Listen. Shut up and listen. If there is a thing, shut up and listen. If there is a thing that someone claims exists for no time, is that logically identical to that thing not existing?
I'm not claiming something exists for no time.
You motherfucker. I just asked you a question. You don't have to tell me what you did or didn't claim. I asked you a fucking question. You're going to answer it yes or no, or I'm moving on.
No, I didn't make that claim, and you're misrepresenting my position.
Goodbye. I didn't. Did I say you made a claim, Jelmer? Did I say you made a claim?
Yes, you're saying that I'm...
No, you didn't, you fucking liar. Listen to me, Jelmer. I'm asking you a question. I'm not saying you made a claim. I'm asking you a question. Here's the question. If something is claimed to exist for no time, is that logically identical to something not existing for any time?
No.
The answer is yes. It's fucking logically identical. There's the demonstration. I'm sorry that you don't understand logic. Goodbye.
If it is identical...
I said goodbye. I said goodbye. I said goodbye. I don't care. You're not going to make any claims. You're not going to defend anything. And you've demonstrated that you don't understand the basics of logic to even get to the contradictory position.
Yeah, Jelmer, listen back to that last bit of the call. And the question I asked you about the something, just replace that something with anything. If it can be said that a pencil existed for no time, is that indistinguishable from that pencil not existing? Try to think of it that way. Instead of trying to imagine or anticipate how this is going to go to the God question, just use any object. Divorce this from the objective of showing a God exists, and just think about it just rationally.
From now on, if I ask you a fucking question, answer that question. Don't tell me what you didn't claim. Don't try to think that you understand this better than me and you know where I'm going, because you've been wrong every single time, Jelmer. Every single time you thought you understood my position or thought you knew where I was going, you were fucking wrong. And you were wrong about the basics of logic.
You see this happen quite a lot, where when questions aren't answered directly, it's because the person answering the question at some level anticipates or understands how this answer is going to come back to bite them. So instead of answering the question, they said in this case here, accusing Matt of saying that Jelmer made a claim. When Matt didn't say Jelmer made a claim, Matt said, if X, then is Y the case. And that's not saying Jelmer says that X is the case, and therefore Y must be the case, but just in a hypothetical scenario, if X is true, then is Y true? And if you are presented with a question like that, just generally, if anybody, if you're presented with a question like that and you don't want to answer it, you need to ask yourself, why don't I want to answer this? Perhaps you don't understand the question or you need clarification. That's totally fine. Just ask for it. But if you think that, oh, if I answer this question truthfully, now this is going to be used against me later on, that's not a problem with the question. That's a problem with your position. So think about that. Go back and analyze it. We don't know about these speculations. Even scientists at some point in our history, back to the Planck time, they'd say we don't know what's going on there because our science breaks down. Anything beyond that is speculation. Anyway, okay, let's move on. That was a interesting wake up.
It's incredibly frustrating because all I ever said, this is Jelmer out there who believes in a God but won't make a claim and won't fucking defend it. He's a little fucking coward. And he doesn't understand this stuff. And so he hears me say, when somebody's like, well, how can God exist outside of time? If it exists outside of time, that's identical to it non-existing. What does that even mean? And it's what the point that we've addressed, 5,000 times, is that it doesn't make sense to claim that a God can exist outside of any reference time. Whether or not that reference time is the same as our local space-time or the reference time of a God or the reference time of a meta or whatever, we don't know because we don't have any way of investigating it. But it is absolutely logically absurd to say that X exists for 0 time. That is identical to X does not exist for any time. And then you can be like, well, you're talking about our local space-time. No, whatever temporal frame of reference X is supposed to be linked to, it must have some time component. Otherwise, X is linked to non-existence. Existence is temporal. Persistence, moment to moment, is existence. It is impossible to talk about existence and not have a temporal aspect to it. And so the best you can do is say, well, we don't know what happened prior to the Planck time. Maybe prior to the Planck time, time breaks down. And in that last picosecond, whatever, for Planck time, maybe in that period of time, if you were to look at it, time always existed, but runs at a rate that is different from our local spacetime presentation. I don't know. I don't have any way to investigate it. Not a physicist. I'm not the one that's making claims other than existence. When you say X exists, it is absurd to say X existed for 0 time. That's it.
Hello, I'm Jimmy Snow, executive producer for The Line and avid candy eater. Hey, if you'd like to support this channel, you can do so now on Patreon or as a channel member with tiers specific to supporting specific shows and hosts. And it also supports our ability to expand programming going forward. You could also leave a super thanks down below, get a little special highlighted comment, and I'll tell you what, you could hit like and you could hit subscribe. Now, here are some video suggestions so we can fudge that algorithm. Go with one of ours. Forget everyone else on YouTube. begging.